Welcome to Exploring Anime with Friends, a JMO for Real podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I'm your host, JMO. And today's friend is my wife and co-host, Sarah. Say hello, Sarah.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going today?
It's going pretty good.
Awesome. Ready to dive right in?
Absolutely.
In today's episode, we will be exploring the world of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, an isekai fantasy with an overpowered protagonist, released in April of 2021. For the next 20-25 minutes, we will be exploring Walpurgis, the Demon Lord's Banquet. First, we will take a glance at Rimuru, the Jura Tempest Federation, and the major events that have led us to this moment in the story. Next, we will discuss some of the history of Walpurgis and the present-day events that led to it being held again. Afterwards, we will dive into the conflict of Rimuru versus Clayman. Finally, we will explore the conclusion of Walpurgis and learn about Octogram. And remember, if you like what you hear today, follow us on social media, linked in the show notes. Alright, so let's just dive right in. Rimuru. Talk to us a little about Rimuru, hon.
Rimuru is our main protagonist, and he's actually a slime monster.
A slime monster? Okay, so he's always been a slime monster? Wouldn't a slime monster be an it, not a he, or something like that?
I mean, that's very fair. It's hard to not distinguish Rimuru as an he, just because his first life, he was just a normal Joe, like, in Japan, and jumped in to save her friend's life, and then he got reincarnated as a slime in another world.
Okay, yeah, he just got basically stabbed through.
Was it stabbed or shot?
No, stabbed. It was stabbed.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you don't remember the whole scene where the guy's, like, awkwardly charging forward?
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right.
Like, I don't even know, like, how you could even fall to someone like that. He was just, like, basically holding, it's the most awkward thing. You have to watch it to really get a picture. I'm not going to try to explain it.
It was really weird.
But yeah, no. So tell us a little about this slime monster that's been reincarnated into the other world.
So at first he's just in this little cave and he's just doing slime things. For those that don't know what slimes do, they absorb things. They eat them. But he's got a really cool, unique power in that whatever he eats, he can kind of mimic it.
He's exploring the cave and having some fun and picking up magic, taking down magical beasts, and picking up pure magical molecules and whatnot, and eventually he runs into Veldora. Want to tell us a little about Veldora?
Veldora is a dragon.
Dun, dun, dun.
And he was trapped in that cave. Like, not just in the cave, but he was trapped in a, like, magic spell in the cave to keep him from going dragony everywhere, basically.
Yeah, no, Veldora was a big problem back in the day, and Rimuru was kind of like, hey, my guy, what's going on? Somehow, this slime and friends of this big bad dragon, and they both took upon themselves to give themselves the same last name, and they went with the name Tempest.
Yep.
So yeah, that's how Rimuru found his foundation in this world. When eventually Rimuru got out of the cave, well, actually, tell me, did he leave Veldora in this cave when he came out, or?
No, he just used his awesome slime, because there was no way for him to, like, break through the barrier that was keeping Veldora there, so he just used his awesome slime powers to eat him.
Yeah, with the, obviously planning on sending him out later, sealed away Veldora and put him in a little dimensional storage inside of him. So yeah, Rimuru gets out and starts making an impact on the world. Rimuru's end goal is just to make a kingdom in which he can enjoy himself. Just something where he can have fun, and he's realizing early on that there's a barrier between humans and monsters in the world. So what does he have to do? He has to put together a respectable monster nation that can show how well they interact with humans. Talk to us about some of these monsters that have been brought in. So some of the highlights, and what are some of your favorites of Rimuru's allies?
My favorite will definitely be the lizard folk and Lord Gabiru.
Lord Gabiru! Starts off as an opponent of Rimuru's, but then eventually he helps the lizard men and he saves them, and it turns out that Rimuru has compassion in his heart and actually allows Gabiru to live and serve him. And they help out in the gathering of magical molecules and work in the caves. Definitely a very fun character. Gabiru has a couple of side characters who are going around, and they're just kind of like, oh, magnificent Oh, magnificent Gabiru. Like,
I wouldn't call them side characters. I would call them Gabiru's fans.
yeah, no, it's the Gabiru fan club that goes around with Gabiru all the time. It's just a lot of fun and a lot. Oh man, one of my favorite. We have to talk about it. Benimaru, Shion and company.
Yeah.
And they become some of his right hand men. They start off as ogres. They evolve into kaijin when Rimuru gives them names, and they even evolve further as the series goes on. Where they are now, several of them are oni. And Benimaru serves as the head of the military for Rimuru. Shion serves as his secretary. Anything you want to say about Shion or Benimaru?
I mean, I really like the way Benimaru looks, to be honest. He looks cool. I wish Shion had, like, something to cover her fan service she's got on display. But, you know, it is what it is.
She's got a great personality either way, right?
She does. She's a fun character.
She's always going back and forth with Diablo, an actual demon that decided that he was going to become subservient to Rimuru. I wish we knew the full of what's going on, but it looks like he just finds Rimuru to be a super fascinating person, and him and Shion have a little bit of a competition as to who's better and who Rimuru likes more. And
yeah, pretty much.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. But, there's also a few others that are important. The head of the Stealth Corps comes from the ogres. One of the chief textiles, Shuna. A lot of the trainers, a blacksmith, come from the ogre. Yeah, no, a lot of cool, important parts. They become, when the six of them join his team, they actually become very important parts of Rimuru's plans moving forward. Is there another one of the tribes that you want to highlight at all?
The goblins.
Okay, go for it.
Fun.
Oh, his first ever ones. Yeah.
So at first, none of them have names, and that's pretty important in this world. When monsters get names, they get better, basically. But you can't name someone unless you're heroic. So he starts naming all the goblins because, yeah, sure, everyone should have a name. And after naming them all, he just passes out because he doesn't realize he's, like, imbuing them with a part of himself when he does this.
If we're going to point out any one of them by name, it would be
Gabta.
Who is, like, one of their champions. He didn't really grow much in physical appearance when Rimuru gave a name, but man, did he become really good at hand-to-hand combat, and he's typically one of Rimuru's front lines and often represents the goblins inside of the meeting tent when they're having their meetings together. So, and finally, really, we could go on and on because they made allies with a lot of different nations, but we should probably point out two others at this point in time. The first one would be Rimuru's right-hand man, or right-hand puppy, Ranga, and the dire wolves that have evolved. So Ranga is a three-tailed dire wolf with a unicorn horn. I don't remember exactly what it's called. I think it started off as a dire wolf. And he goes everywhere for Rimuru. They transport around together, and ultimately he is. I'm not going to call him Rimuru's pet, but he's Rimuru's right-hand canine.
Yes.
And finally, in order to really give them a space that they could call their own, they made an alliance with the Jura Forest and the Dryads of the Jura Forest, led by Trainee. Anything you want to add about the wolves or the Dryads?
I mean, I'm a big fan of puppies, so the wolves are definitely fun. The Dryads are really cool in their own way. They're all great characters, and I'm kind of annoyed that the humans treat the monsters the way they do, because Rimuru just stepped in and suddenly everyone's friends. Did none of the humans try this? I don't think any of the humans actually tried this.
Yeah, no. But, so they form the Jura Tempest Federation, and they become a nation of monsters that makes a lot of allies. They make allies with the Dwarven Kingdom of Dwargon. They make allies with several human nations, including the Sorcerer's Empire. So, and as these alliances are being made and being formed, they're having a big meeting where they're meeting with two of the human nations and the Dwarven nation to discuss their plans moving forward, when suddenly Romulus, the fairy queen of the labyrinth, one of the 10 great demon lords, decides that she's going to pop in and say, we're all doomed. She's an ally of Rimuru. One of the things we want to cover, I don't know why they're called demon lords, because only one of them actually is. They're all different sorts of creatures. She's literally a little labyrinth pixie, but she shows up and she's kind of like, you guys are all doomed. You're all in trouble. And Rimuru wants to know why. And she's like, claiming as called Walpurgis to discuss your claims as being a demon lord.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. But yeah, she explains that what Walpurgis is. You want to take a quick shot? Just tell us, very simple, what plain and simple Walpurgis is.
It's a meeting of the demon lords.
Yes, it's their banquet. It's their time where they get together and gossip and discuss. And it can only be called when they have 3 members of it that want to do it. And Clayman has been manipulating events. He's been trying to take down Beast King Clarion. He's been trying to take down Rimuru. As a matter of fact, it's thought that Clarion has fallen, so there's only 9 of them at this point in time. And Clayman has basically, it looks like he's taken control of Malim, and Freya has gone along, and the 3 of them together have called the banquet in order to discuss the dangers of Rimuru and how Rimuru messed with them by taking down the Beast King Clarion. But it wasn't him. Who was it? Who was it that took him down?
It was Clayman.
Yeah, Clayman was
That
manipulating Malim, and she ended up manipulating Malim and Freya, and they ended up taking down the Beast King Clarion. So Clayman's spreading all sorts of lies. He believes that Rimuru's trouble because Rimuru has basically stepped in and messed with things, and doesn't believe that Rimuru actually is the Demon Lord he claims that he is. But Rimuru is because he met the requirements in the war versus the nation that he just defeated that came at them and attacked them. Anything you want to say about that really quick?
Those guys that attacked them, the humans that attacked our very awesome Jura Federation, Force Federation, they were jerks. They literally came in when Rimuru was gone, put up a barrier so even if Rimuru came back suddenly, he couldn't get in, and then just decimated a whole part of the city.
So, and at that point in time, Rimuru had enough power to release Veldora, so Veldora's back in the world in a human form. But we're not going to go too much into that because we really want to cover what is coming next at this point in time. If you've liked what you've heard so far, you definitely need to look at this. So we just quickly summarized the first season and a half for you in like less than 10 minutes. But there's so much more. There's so many cool things that happen. If you like what you heard, then we recommend that you watch this for yourself on Crunchyroll, home to over 1,000 anime series and simulcasts, both subbed and dubbed. The website is listed below in the show notes, along with all of our social medias, where if you like what you're hearing on the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us there. Back to everything, the Demon Lord's Banquet, where Walpurgis is being held. The last time they named themselves, they battled for days and days to get to the name, the 10 Great Demon Lords. So really, it's just one of those things that they don't like doing it all that often. Guy Crimson he's the head of the group. He does find amusement, but most of and he loves the drama and the controversy. But at the same time, most of them just would rather not be bothered. But this time, he talks to all of them and gets them all to agree to come, including Leon Cromwell, who Rimuru has a level of beef with. Meanwhile, Rimuru asks Romulus, well, can I come? And of course she says, I guess. Like,
he's a demon lord?
Yeah, so I guess you could come. So Rimuru shows up. They first have to address the fact that Clayman is marching on the surviving kingdom that Beast King Clarion left behind. So Rimuru sends his armies out to battle Clayman's armies, while he heads with Ranga and Shion. You're allowed to bring 2 advisors with you to Walpurgis. So he brings Ranga and Shion with him, and they head to Walpurgis, while Benimaru leads an assault against Clayman's army and invades Clayman's territories. That war just is an absolute slaughter. Benimaru and company just take them all out on the battlefield, free as many of them from Clayman's control as possible, because Clayman is a master of manipulator and body control and mind control and all sorts of different things. He has his main 5 guards are all under his control. They're referred to as his 5 fingers. Rimuru's already freed one of them, as we soon come to learn when Rimuru and Clayman start going back and forth directly at Walpurgis. Anything you want to say about the walk-ins at Walpurgis, the chip that Rimuru comes in with, or the attacks that Clayman's laying down at the beginning?
I mean, Clayman just kind of goes at it quick. He's accusing Rimuru of all the things he's already accused him of, and he's just like, being a jerk.
Yeah, and it's one lie after another, and then Rimuru takes a stand and rebuts one thing after another. When Clayman says that he killed one of his subordinates, Rimuru points out that, no, I freed her from your mental control. eventually Clayman's had enough. And what do cowards do when, what do liars do when all of their lies are exposed?
Their pants are on fire?
Yes, his pants spontaneously combust.
No, they didn't, but...
Oh, no. Oh, he challenges Rimuru to a fight.
Yep.
And obviously Key Crimson is just looking and laughing and like, oh, goody, we're going to have two of you doing battle.
Just a second on Geek Crimson, though.
Okay.
He's the demon lord that is an actual demon. And I don't know, I pictured him as being this like big, angry looking, like, rawr thing. No, he is this most chill character in the entire series. And he's just relaxed the whole time.
Yeah, no. But we'll get into more of them after we finish the Rimuru versus Clayman portion. And they bring in their subordinates with him. Clayman has a 9-tailed fox that is going to be battling Ranga. He also has a creation, a mechanical creation that he does battle with that serves as one of his hands. Rimuru obviously pulls Ranga and Shion in, and at the last second, Clayman pulls in Malim, the most powerful of the group, because she is again thought to be under his control. She starts doing battle with Rimuru, and Rimuru is completely on edge at this point in time. Romulus brought along a golem that Rimuru made for her, and eventually Golem talks her way into the battle to join and equal out the numbers. So she's taking on the construct that Clayman made. Malim is doing battle with Rimuru. Shion's doing battle with Clayman, which, by the way, this is how powerful Rimuru is. Shion is mopping the floor of Clayman.
It's so lopsided.
And we have the canine battle going on, too. So things are going back and forth. Everyone's winning their matchups except for Rimuru, who's actually getting beaten down pretty bad by Malim. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, poof!
Valdora shows up.
Yes! And why does he show up?
Because, gosh darn it, he needs the next book in the manga series he's reading. And only Rimuru can provide it. Yeah,
because Rimuru has found a way to duplicate items from the previous world. So he's been duplicating all the manga he read. And Valdora's hooked.
Yeah.
And Valdora starts showing off some of his fancy moves in battle versus Malim. Want to talk to us about these fancy moves?
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, they're so great in the middle of it's that kind of animation where it's not like perfect, it doesn't match everything, but it's beautiful because out of nowhere there's like a Hadouken out of nowhere.
And a Kabe,
It's just good shout outs all around.
Yeah, no, it's just basically one thing after another. Which, by the way, when did Street Fighter become a manga? Like, I'm not even sure how that happened. There might be a
comic book somewhere.
Yeah, I guess there's comic books in there too. But yeah, no, so Valdora is basically just sparring with Malim and having all sorts of fun. Yeah, eventually, Clayman, everything's been defeated. Clayman's on his ropes. He's beaten down and everything. And he's like, Malim, finish them! And Malim's like, haha, I'm just playing.
Not under his control at all.
Yeah, never at any point in time under his control, just basically played along till the perfect moment to make him look as bad as possible. So this obviously enrages Clayman, and he has his full awakening, and then Rimuru just pwns him.
Yep.
Done. So Clayman's no more. His people have all been freed, and at this point in time, it's just a matter of discussing what they do in the aftermath. Guy Crimson is obviously super pleased with what went on, but he points out, oh dear, we're down a member now. And then at that point in time, Beast King Clarion reveals himself. He was in disguise, and he was actually posing as one of Freya's right-hand men. He and Freya both decide that they, after seeing what Clayman's power was and what Rimuru's greater power was, that they weren't on the same power level as the rest of them, and they both stepped down their posts. Furthermore, they pledge their support to Malim. So now Malim has to actually be a responsible adult rather than a free wandering spirit. Anything about Malim first before we continue?
I mean, free wandering spirit kind of sums her up. She just kind of does her own thing. When she first approached Rimuru way back when, she's like, hey, bestie! And, like, suddenly they're BFFs.
Yeah, best friends forever. Yeah, and no one's going to argue with her because at this current point, she's definitely one of the 5 most powerful people in the universe, potentially the most powerful person in the universe at this point in time. It's either her, Valdora, or Guy Crimson, so Crimson is having all sorts of fun laughing at Malim finally having to be responsible. And then they suddenly point out that, oh, wait, no, there's only 8 of us now. The name 10 Great Demon Lords is not going to work out anymore. So Veldora speaks up.
Have you met my friend Rimuru?
Yeah. And he's kind of like, well, is very skilled at naming people.
Because that's all he did for the first little while.
And Guy's kind of like, oh, yes, excellent. And Rimuru's trying to back down and shy away from it. But Guy Crimson basically lets him know, you're the new guy and you come highly acclaimed by Veldoros. You know, you're going to give us a new name.
Lucky him, right?
So they're all sitting around there. Rimuru's thinking, and he's kind of like, okay, so maybe something star-related. So he's looking up, and he's looking up at a constellation in the sky that's like an 8-pointed star, and he's like, what's an 8-pointed star again? It's an octagram. And he vocalizes like, we're going to call ourselves Octagram. They all take a moment to think about it. Some of them give nods of approval. Some of them immediately say how awesome of a name it is. And others just kind of give a shrug of approval. And finally, Guy Crimson speaks up and it's like, yes, I think Octagram is a perfect name. At that point in time, they do a introduction of everyone. Crimson, the Demon Lord. Dino, the Sleeping Man. Dagruel, the Giant. Romulus, the Fairy. Leon Cromwell, the Human. Roy Valentin, who actually, no, not Roy Valentin. In this meeting, it's been revealed that it's actually Luminous Valentin. That's the Demon Lord, and Roy Franklin serves her. So, Luminous Valentin, the Vampire, Malim Nava, the Dragonborn, and Rimuru Tempest, the Slime, form the new Octagram. Anything you want to finally say about any of them in conclusion?
They're all very unique, which is nice. Like, I know that's kind of the goal of most shows, is to bring out something that's different. But the fact that all of the Demon Lords are extremely different from one another is really cool. And they're different, like, they're different species, too, which is kind of nice. They're not demons, except for Guy.
Really, when it comes down to it, I've had a lot of fun watching this anime as a whole. The characters
same.
are very likable. There are elements, there's a little too much fan service for my liking, but if that's your thing, I guess. The characters are really well developed. There are times when I feel the story moves a little fast, and they introduce a few too many characters a little too quickly, so it's really hard to stay up on all the names, in my opinion. But at the same point in time, it is a really well-made one, and I'm not ready to put it in my like top 5 or top 10 yet or anything, but it's definitely a must-watch in my opinion. How about you, Sarah?
I mean, I really have to make that list. I would say it's probably definitely in my top 10. I'm not sure if it's top 5, but it's definitely up there for me. I really enjoyed it, and despite what you said about it does move a little fast, it does introduce a lot of characters quickly, I still really just enjoyed the base premise and everything that goes on.
Okay, so once again, we took a glance at Rimuru and the Jura Tempest Federation. Afterwards, we learned about Walpurgis and the events that led up to this one being called. And then we analyzed the conflict between Rimuru and Clayman. Finally, we explored the conclusion of Walpurgis and learned about the formation of Octagram and exactly what all these things were. Oh, I had a lot of fun doing this with you, Sarah. Did you?
It was definitely fun.
So I hope you had as much fun as we had exploring Walpurgis from that time I got reincarnated as a slime as we did, and consider watching this anime. So if you like what you heard today, make sure to listen to us on Apple and Spotify. All of our podcasts are there. All of the J-Mail for Real podcasts are on there. Check us out on social media and interact with us there. It is linked in the show notes. Until next time, this has been Exploring Anime with Friends, a J-Mail for Real podcast. Let's explore together.